Welcome back to the Green Eyed Girl podcast. As you can see, we have some minor upgrades or major upgrades, I guess, in relativity to what I started with. Got a microphone now, so I'm going to be louder than ever. I apologize if you hear laundry going in the background because life doesn't stop just for a podcast. Today's big topic that is going all over Twitter space is immigration. So I'm going to address it now before everybody else gets to it. I refuse to get angry and get all riled up about it. I've been watching it for, I don't know, the 24 hours or so it's been going on, and I could sit and I could take offense because I'm a white person. Or I can just grow up, kind of take it all in, see everybody's perspectives, be disappointed in some, good with others, and move right forward. So far, the biggest voices obviously are Vivek and Elon. They are both immigrants or come from immigrant families. Um, Honestly, they are some of the best and brightest that are in this country right now. So I don't think it's fair to discount their take by any metric. Patrick Bet-David's another one. He comes from an immigrant family. He is an immigrant. He started his life in Iran, and his take on it was pretty great, actually, because he pointed out all of the statistics and what is wrong with Gen Z. So before we get super mad and super tore up about it, let's take a pause and realize that these guys, yes, they are associated with the Trump administration, but no, they are not in charge of immigration. They can put their viewpoints out there. They're more than welcome to. They're citizens of this country and very, very, very valuable ones at that. Their job in the Trump administration is Doge. They are downsizing the bureaucratic bullshit that has been leeching off of us for eons. They're not in charge of immigration. They can say whatever they want. They can have whatever takes they want. Vivek, in particular, comes from big tech. And I have no doubt that he has had trouble hiring. None. Absolutely none. But it's not because Americans are just baseline stupid, and I didn't even take what he said entirely that way. I understand how people got there, but let's all collectively take a big deep breath and start listening to one another. The problems in this country that need to be addressed are DEI and affirmative action. Why on earth would men strive to be excellent when they're not going to be hired? There is an implicit bias going on with all of these DEI things of middle class men are not being chosen for their career paths. It used to be in this country, middle class men became our tech billionaires. Can we look at Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg? These guys created giant booming tech stuff. And it's not that we're stupid and that white men are too stupid to do these jobs now. It's that we absolutely disenfranchise them from trying eons ago. So, if we're going to look at this and we can get all bent out of shape about it, but we're not at a place where we're just going to go import a whole bunch of people right now. Trump's looking at exporting a bunch of people. I know that's shocking, but Tom's on the case. He's going to get rid of people. It's going to be fine. So, right now, a lot of what I've seen is H-1B is actually being used entirely improperly. I follow several people on Twitter, and some of the statistics they put up are very concerning. Why on earth are we importing people in here to be cashiers, etc.? Because, guys, let's be real. Kids used to do this stuff. I would like to go back to minimum wage jobs being for high schoolers. I know that's a shocking concept, but it worked out great for us in the beginning. So, A, we got to quit using H-1B for silly things that there's plenty of people in this country to be. B, I'm seeing a lot of race issues. Guys, let me let you know on something. America has never been a white country. It is a predominantly white country, but we are also a melting pot. That's how we started. Okay. Some people, when they came here, were from England. We have people from Ireland. We have people from Asia. We have people from everywhere. And if you go somewhere like New York City, and let's flash back to the 2000s when it was actually somewhere you wanted to go, it was always diverse. But everyone was pretty homogenized grand scheme. We've been living in harmony forever. and everybody got used to it. So yes, there's lots of diversity in this country. Yes, America has always been about 60% white. No, it is not okay that we are moving away and trying to make white people feel bad for being white. That's got to end. But people have been pointing out for a while, and I've seen many people that I know for a fact only have one child and they're white online yelling about, well, we need to not import a bunch of people from Asia. We need to be about white people. Have more kids. Have more kids. You want more white people on this planet? Have more children. Shocking concept. I know. Just the people I see yelling about it the loudest have no children or one, maybe two. Good luck. Have more kids. If you want more white people, have more kids. Okay. No, we should not be mass importing people into this country. Illegal immigration is completely out of control. It should be merit based immigration. But when we start doing things like merit based immigration, you also have to bear in mind you're going to have to compete. Now, right now, we've disenfranchised men because women and people that fall into the DEI sphere, whether they're by a sexual orientation or whatever, we've disenfranchised middle class white men, like 100%. They don't want to go to college because college is completely feminized. I've been to two. Okay. I have 2 degrees. I've been to college, feminized. And I was in male dominated areas, and I've got to say it was still very feminized. So let's take that into account. Obviously, our education system needs to be fixed, etc. We're not just going to go and import a bunch of people to keep making America work, but let's be real. In the past decades, we have sent out our patents, our information, our intellectual property. We took it to other countries. We farmed it out to make the product cheaper when it hits the States. Now we're looking at tariffs hitting, which means those industries need to come back. Our population has not been educated for that. Okay, all of these chips and things that we get from other countries, they're going to come back. We don't know how to make them anymore. We just don't. They're being made in Taiwan predominantly. So we might have to bring some of the Taiwanese over here to train us. I don't know why that's shocking. We need to fix our education system. We need to defeminize. We need to remove all of the DEI restrictions. We need to go back to a meritocracy. And men, you can yell and you can scream, but you've been yelling and screaming that you want a meritocracy back. Compete. Compete. Get out, strive every day. You don't want someone from a foreign country coming in here and taking that spot. Learn the job, learn the skill, and be the best so that they don't have to bring someone here to fill that spot because there's not people here that are able to. Let's compete. Let's really truly compete. So Patrick but David brought up Gen Z is completely dysfunctional. Okay, I work with a lot of younger guys right now, and I'm here to tell you that the Gen Zers, man, they're weak. They're really weak. I have a hard time wanting to hire young people. I do have to, but they do have a hard time understanding all of politics of hierarchy. They don't understand that they can't just go straight to the boss. They don't understand that they can't just dictate how things are going to be, that they can't call in for minor headaches and just little stuff. And I'll tell you what, if one Gen Zer gets the flu, the other 10, whether they actually have it or not, man, they're going to go to the doctor and get tested because, well, I just don't feel right, so I'm just not going to be here. We trained them through COVID to find every excuse not to show up to work. And when you tell them different ways to be healthy, they just want to blow you off. They want to go to the doctor. They want the doctor to give them that 10-day excuse. So now I have flu A, flu B, COVID. They're now turning in what used to just be the common cold. They're giving all of the specific terms that it could possibly be to try to give these guys more time off of work. So all in, there's like 40 days these guys can call in for. That's and it's backed by a doctor. That's peak insanity. And I'm telling you, Gen Z, that's the number one group that takes advantage of this. I watch it. I work in industry. I watch it every day. They call in to me. And as much as I just want to say, stop being weak, I can't. I've been put in a position in this world where I can't just say that, because when you have a doctor's note, it means something. And the government's going to back them if I let them go for that reason. And they try to sue for unemployment. They're going to get it. So our hands are tied. As bosses in this country, our hands are tied. I have some foreign guys that are subcontracted to me through another company. They always show up to work. There are no excuses. They work harder. They work faster. They work more efficiently. They don't really like taking lunches and breaks, so they just kind of work on through because they just want their day to be cohesive. We can yell and we can scream in America about all of these things, but the truth is, there's reasons that this is being said. And so if we do what I did, take 24 hours, because I could sit and I could be all mad about the Vivek's thing, but instead I took about 24 hours and digested it, slept on it, thought about it. And this is the conclusion that I came to is, in a lot of ways, he's right. I don't necessarily 100% agree. I don't just want to bring a bunch of people in. I want to make sure that the men who have been kept out of these industries because they happen to be white and passed over have a shot at the job. And if they're more than capable, the homegrown American man deserves the job over bringing someone in from a foreign country. But they do have to be able to really, truly do the job. We are going to, as Americans, have to come to grips with the fact that we are going to have to bring some foreign people here as we reintroduce these industries back to the States, because there's a learning curve. We sent this stuff overseas. Our best and brightest took things to China and Taiwan and India because they make them at a lower price point. But for these companies to be able to make their parts here in the States to avoid tariffs, we're going to have to be educated. We're going to have to put in the work. And if you don't want to see a ton of foreigners here, you're going to have to learn. I don't think that's as shocking. I've had to learn new industry. If I was going to go and switch jobs and switch careers and continue forward, I had to learn an entirely new industry. I went from automotive to construction. They don't have a whole lot in common. So I took off hours from work to do some research. I asked a lot of questions. I spent lunch breaks looking up terminology and making notes because it was something entirely new. And now I'm here getting into podcasting. And let me tell you, I had no idea what any of this is about. Thankfully, my Mr. Producer / husband is amazing, and he understands and he knows to give you things like a camera and a microphone, because frankly, I bought a backdrop, guys. Okay. So to get into industry, you need to talk to other people. You need to actually do research. You need to ask questions, and you need to put in effort. If you don't want to be outcompeted by some dude from India coming here, go home, pull up, open books, pull up the websites, start doing research, put the video game controller down and learn something new. Learn something new. We're literally finally getting back to a meritocracy in this country. DEI is going to die. Affirmative action needs to go. Hey, it does damage to the people who get the benefits because they're not great. Sorry, no offense, people out there, but It's the truth. And if it hurts your feelings, I really don't care. It's not doing you any good. Getting spots in college, getting jobs you don't deserve, all because of your skin color, your ethnicity, your sex, your sexual orientation, etc., is peak insanity for the world. A, you're not the best candidate for the job. B, you should be ashamed of yourself for getting it because you're not the best person for the job. Like, I don't understand not wanting to compete. It doesn't compute to me at all. But we are going to have to sit and learn how to compete in this world again. Donald Trump is bringing back meritocracy. It's literally what we've been screaming about. And you can sit and you can scream and cry and have an absolute meltdown and say things like, I'm never voting for the Republicans again because they're bringing more foreigners in. Actually, no, we're about to deport most of them. We should get our cashier jobs back. And if we want the really good jobs, get off Pornhub. It's not good for you anyway. Video games, not great for you. Let's bring back competition. Let's bring back competence. Okay? Our school systems need overhauled. They're literally making us lazy. Our attitude as Americans in general, and just actually the West in general, it's not just an American problem. The more I listen to people from around the world, the more I realize this is 100% a Western world problem, and it's happening in many countries. Okay? It's not just here. But since I'm an America First person, we're going to talk about it in terms of America. Mid-20s is not kids. By the time you're 18 years old, you should be a fully functional, self-sustaining human being. If you're not, your parents did you a disservice. We need to let little kids be kids. We need to not be exposing children, young children especially, to all of these gay pride parades and all of these things. We need to protect our children. We need to bring back morality in general. But we also need to stop babying our teenagers. In my household, when I turned 12, I had to do all of my own laundry. And a lot of my friends were just like shocked by this. It's not shocking, and it's not even hard. In my household, we had alternating dish nights, me and my brother. Okay, so I learned how to properly clean a kitchen, and there were rules on how we were going to clean the kitchen. And my counter's wiped, stove is clean, everything's done, put away, dry in the cupboard. And when my stepdad found food on the dishes that didn't come off because we didn't properly clean them before they went in the dishwasher, and then we didn't double check and we just slung them in the cabinet, he pulled, after warning us, mind you, we had plenty of fair warning, he pulled every single pot, pan, dish, piece of silverware, utensil, you name it in a kitchen, came out of the cupboard and was 100% hand washed, re-washed, re-dried, and put away. And it was a team effort. My brother and I spent hours in the kitchen. And you know what mistake we never made again? You guessed it. You didn't find food on clean plates in the cupboard ever again. Because reasonable punishment to mistakes happens. You know how that translates to the real world? When I make a mistake at work and I catch it and I have to pay the punishment of working harder to overcome that mistake because I didn't order something on time or whatever it may be, I don't make that mistake again. Because it's not about excuses. It's, hey, I messed up. I paid the consequence. And I'm certainly not doing that again. Okay? We cleaned our house, cleaned our bathrooms, made our beds, did our own laundry. My brother did the yard work. We all raked leaves. We had a ton of trees on our property. By the time I went to college, I knew how to cook. I knew how to clean. I knew how to be self-sufficient. I knew how to budget. I knew how to go to a grocery store and know, hey, I have X amount of money to spend. It makes you prioritize want versus need. We currently live in a culture where we don't know what a want is versus what a need is. A want is the latest iPhone. A need is a way to properly communicate. So if you can't afford the newest iPhone and you have to go into great debt, buy the flip phone. You can still text. You can still call. You can still communicate. It's just not ideal. Want versus need. This is why people from places like India and Africa and all of that can come here and be excellent because they understand want versus need. Need is a chance, and they'll do anything to have it. We can want things all day long, but if you're not willing to work for them, all you're going to get is paying for basic needs. We need to train our children from young ages to become self-sufficient so that when they leave their house at 18 years old, they can adequately go and make decisions. I have student loan debt, but I very carefully assessed where I was going to be. The vast majority of my first degree was paid for because my dad worked hard. And that was one of his benefits from his job that he paid for with his blood, sweat, and tears. Okay. I had very minimal debt coming out of there because all I ever had to do was pay for a couple of years of room and board. Not a big deal. But when I went back for my second degree, I actually sat and ran the numbers on what is this going to cost versus what is going to be the benefit. Is the $12,000 I have right now and the potential of starting a $30,000, $40,000 career versus I take another 50, 60,000 in debt, and it actually ended up being more than that, and it's a long story, but do I take the other 50, 60,000 and have a career that starts at 55 and goes up from there? We don't have kids that think about this. They get into $100,000 in debt to get a career that's not really viable. At the time, I had a chemistry degree. It was not incredibly viable. Options I had were not great. But when I went and got a chemical engineering degree, I can work anywhere. But there's 1,000 openings. And I graduated in May and I had a job by August. But at the same time, you know what I did? I interviewed to be a cashier at Kroger and having a actual career in my industry in the same week. Do you know why? Because my bills had to be paid and I wasn't going to be moving back in with mommy and daddy. That's not how that was going to work in my world. I was literally willing to do anything. I was a double college degree holder who was willing to go bag groceries because my bills had to be paid. And I had good, viable degrees, very useful skills. And it paid off. I did happen to get the career job that had that interview. But a big part of why I got that job was because I was literally willing to do anything. I cleaned houses for people during college. I worked in food service. These are not degrading things, but we've taught entire generations that somehow this is degrading work and it's only work that you bring in illegal immigrants for and blah, blah, blah. It's not. I'm not going to say that there weren't times where it was demeaning. I'm not going to say that some housewife to some rich doctor didn't treat me like garbage while I scrubbed her toilet. And not saying it wasn't offensive from time to time. But my bills were paid. My apartment was paid for. My electric never got shut off. I never lost water. I always had gas in my car. I could afford to have fun once in a while. There's going to be shit people in the world. I don't care what industry you work in. I don't care how high powered you are. We're watching it right now. Elon, Patrick, Bet-David, and Vivek are just getting roasted online. Doesn't change anything. They knew the difference between want and need, and they worked their asses off to be some of the most successful people in this country. So instead of all of us sitting and having massive fights about we don't want people that are brown in our country, honey, there's already brown people here. There have been since the beginning. Get used to it. Do I want this country to be predominantly brown? No, I would like us to go back to our demographics, but that requires us all having many, many children and raising them to be adults. Actual full-fledged work for a living, not sitting around watching Disney movies and going to Disney parks, but actually being adults, going to work and being the very best at what they do all day, every day. So, in conclusion, let's as Americans work on ourselves. Let's stop being racist assholes. And let's actually learn how to compete in a few markets. Because it's more than vitally important. Otherwise, you're not going to have an America that looks the way you want it to. Raise your kids. Be a parent. Tell them to grow up and show up to work. And let's quit roasting very successful people online who don't even have control over what they laid an opinion into. I know it's shocking. We're Americans. We're allowed to have opinions. Quit saying stupid crap like, hey, let's deport Elon Musk. Because there's other Americans who were born here that I would deport first. Have a good day.